The community builder for those who serve others, the rising voice for emerging communicators, the bridge builder for underrepresented perspectives, and the determined scholar for those facing financial hardship. If finances are the only barrier between you and this training, well, let's hurdle that barrier. We're accepting applications right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. The priority deadline is February the 10th. So visit TavisTalks.com right now and let's build this table together.
On and on and on and on.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, oh, come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Wilmer J. Leon III, PhD, political scientist, whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, American government, and public policy. For 11 years, he was a lecturer, teaching associate in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Currently, Dr. Leon is a nationally broadcast radio host on Sirius XM satellite radio, channel 126, nationally syndicated columnist, and regular political commentator on national and international news programs. Dr. Leon earned a BS degree in political science from Hampton Institute, a master's in public policy from Howard University, and a PhD in political science from Howard University. He was a contributing author to Democratic Destiny and the District of Columbia, Lexington Books 2010. His latest book is Politics, Another Perspective, Commentary and Analysis on Race, War, Ethics, and the American Political Landscape. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
As always, thanks for bringing me forward. How you doing?
I am so grateful that you're here. Dr. Leon, before we get to the subject matters that we were initially going to just discuss for the hour, these are some pretty peculiar times that we find ourselves living in. In the first segment of our show, can you give us a brief overview of what your work has shown and how this is coming together at this moment?
Wow, that's a challenging question. Let me simply try to put it this way. In 2019, in a frontline interview, Steve Bannon, then Trump's key political advisor, and he's still within that sphere, told us that the mission of the Trump administration would be the deconstruction of the administrative state.
Mm.
And in this campaign, we've got Russell Vought, who is now Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget, who told us that we are in a post-constitutional America. And Russell Vought is also one of the co-authors of Project 2025.
Mm.
Which, if anyone remembers, Donald Trump tried to disavow any, if not any, or any, if not all, knowledge of at the time. So what they have told us what they're going to do. This is no mystery. And so it boggles my mind how, particularly when you listen to mainstream media, they want to they want to present this as though this is a shock. This is a surprise. When you listen to some of these town hall meetings coming from the Midwest, coming from red states, and you now have American soy farmers. You have American beef, I guess farmers. You have a number of other folks saying, we didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. Make no mistake. They told you very clearly what they were going to do. But you thought it wasn't going to happen to you. So what you're saying is when you hear MAGA people, when you hear Marjorie Taylor Greene just said yesterday or the day before, MAGA is a lie. Marjorie Taylor Greene told us, but Marjorie, then you're a liar because you donned the MAGA hat. You wrapped yourself up in the MAGA flag. You attacked anybody that 2 years ago was telling the truth that it was a fraud. But glad you finally found Jesus. So when you hear these folks say, I didn't vote for this, what they're saying really is, hold up. You weren't supposed to screw me. You didn't tell me you told me you were going to screw all them Mexicans. And I'm not Mexican. I'm not from Somalia. I'm not from Haiti. I'm white and I live in Iowa. And now I'm losing my farm because you canceled my soy contracts with China, and China now has gone to Brazil to get their soybeans. So what does that say about us? That is always my question. What does that tell us?
My very special guest in this hour is Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, PhD, political scientist, whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, American government, and public policy. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm particularly grateful that he's giving us a recap. When we come forward, we're going to talk about the Black church, the history of liberation in the Black church, and the meaning of Minneapolis. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sending to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm 2. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes, and your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs, because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, John. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast. fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up? You got to laugh the pain away.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is Dr. Wilmer J. Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for bringing me forward.
You know, Dr. Leon, I want to say this. I was having a fascinating conversation with Teresa Horde Owens, the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church, a multiracial denomination, both in the United States and Canada. And she is the second woman, first person of color to head the denomination. And I began our conversation in pre-construction between 1619 and the Declaration of Independence of our introduction to Christianity and what it meant. Towards the end of the conversation, she reminded me of the rich religious liberation traditions that are part of our culture long before we were introduced to Americanized Christianity. I know that we're going to have a conversation leading us into the direction of the liberation theological traditions of the church. But we were somebody before we got here on the question of God, weren't we?
Well, since most will tell you that monotheism and the idea of the virgin birth and a number of the other elements of Christianity came out of the continent, I'd have to say, yes, sir, I think you're right. And I think it's also important for people listening to this conversation to remember that neither Jesus nor Moses looked like Charlton Heston. Jesus was a Palestinian Jew with hair of lamb's wool and skin of burnt bronze, neither of which describes Charlton Heston. So please keep that in mind as folks, as you listen to this conversation. Please keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Dr. Leon, your thoughts on the role of the Black church and the liberation tradition that's influenced our movement from its inception, really, if you can and if you will, to what's going on in Minneapolis.
Well, I would say that the role of the Black church, and particularly liberation theology, has been the foundation of what has been able to bring us up to this point. And I think forsaking it is what is keeping us in this rut. If you now, theology is your area of expertise, not mine. So I'm operating, in terms of this conversation, I'm operating at an incredible disadvantage. I need to sit and listen to you as opposed to be sitting here talking with you. But I look at and read Howard Thurman. And I read and listen to Reverend James Cone, God of the Oppressed, and Black Theology and Black Power, and The Cross and the Lynching Tree. I think it was Cone, it might have been Thurman, but I think it was Cone who said, if your religious tradition is not based in and advocating your liberation, you're wasting your time. I think about Reverend Dr. Aubrey Hendricks and his book, The Politics of Jesus, because somehow we seem to have lost the understanding that what Jesus was advocating. He was in fact, I think it's Cone. No. It's Howard Thurman that talks about Jesus as a liberator. As a liberator. Aubrey Hendricks talks to us about Jesus in the political context, in terms of what he was advocating, who he was advocating for, and why he eventually had to be assassinated. And so a lot of the very things that he was advocating during that time, we still find ourselves battling the same systemic challenges and problems. But somehow too many of us have gotten caught up in this the mega churches and what's it called, the not the economic theology, what do they call it?
The prosperity gospel.
All of those scams, and losing sight of, again, as Thurman said, Jesus as a liberator, and Cone telling us, if your theology is not advocating your liberation, you are wasting your time. Aubrey Hendricks even goes so far as to explain the difference between gospel music and praise music.
Isn't that something? Let me chime in right here. I posited a thesis in our conversation yesterday that I've been thinking about now for 24 hours. That while it is not written about, the Black liberation theological tradition actually comes from Black women. Now, you think about the limited access to the First Amendment after 1791 that Black people had on a plantation, or the slaves had on the plantation. What access we did have to some semblance of the First Amendment occurred in church on Sunday morning. They didn't worship with us. We had a day off from the field, a partial day off from the field. And the trauma in that church, in that space, was a husband who would be with his wife who might have been violated by the overseer or even by the master. And yet they brought it to Jesus every Sunday morning. Or even men who had been beaten or debauched, having to live with their wives and explain to them, or live with the idea that they had been taken advantage of. They brought it to Jesus on Sunday morning. To come to church one Sunday with your children and to go to church the next Sunday and your children have been sold. That's a lot to pray about. To come to church on Sunday morning and to know that your daughter had been taken advantage of by someone on the plantation, from the big house, if you will, from the plantation house, that's a lot to come and pray on. And so the Black church in its genesis in the United States has this dealing and reckoning with trauma at every level of the horrific experience of chattel slavery. Now, why do I say Black liberation theology has its tradition in Black women? When I think about Harriet Tubman was in ministry in the Underground Railroad. She quoted scripture often about being freed from this process. And while she was not in the pulpit on Sunday morning, we can only imagine, Dr. Leon, just how many preachers she had to cuss out who said, y'all better not go nowhere. And she said, no, we leaving here in the still of the night. Go down Moses. The liberation tradition for my father wasn't to be a preacher on Sunday morning, but it was to have a community organizing meeting called Operation Push on Saturday morning. He didn't want to compete with preachers and pastors. And so when I think about the traumatic experience and the experiences of suffering congregants at the inception of the Black church, again, the period where our rich religious cultural traditions and heritage became the enslavement period here in the Americas, I can't help but think how that tradition led to a liberation hermeneutic and ethic. But when I think about pastors now and others flying from the balcony of a church to the pulpit on stilts and all kinds of cords and cables and all of the entertainment that the tradition has become, there's almost no room for the traumatic experience that gave birth to the dash towards freedom. Dr. Leon?
Well, you know, as you were just saying that and talking about Harriet Tubman, and that she had to cuss out a lot of pastors because she says, we're leaving here in the still of the night. It took me to something your father said. Your dad came to Hampton my junior year. And that was the first time that I was able to be in close personal proximity to your father and to hear him live. And one of the things that he talked to us about in his lecture was, you can't play it safe. And so that when you just talked about Harriet Tubman, that just took me to your dad, because when you say she's cussing out the pastor, saying we're leaving in the still of the night, what she was telling the pastor was, we can't play it safe. The pastor was saying, don't risk it. Don't risk it. She was saying, if we don't risk it, there's no biscuit. And then your father comes in 1979 to Hampton and tells us as students at Hampton, you can't play it safe. When your father was on that balcony at the Lorraine Motel, they weren't playing it safe.
Is that your sense of where the black church is today? That
absolutely,
it's playing it safe.
Absolutely. That's what the prosperity ministry, that fraud called prosperity ministry, is all about. Don't risk your middle class security. Don't risk your. Do you want to have your Mercedes Benz repossessed? No, don't risk it. Play it safe. Go along with the program. Mr. Bobo will give you yours by and by. Why you want to argue with Mr. Charlie? No, don't do that.
I find that fascinating that the Sojourner Truths and the Harriet Tubmans are reading the Lord's Prayer, and they see on earth as it is in heaven, fundamentally different than those who had a heaven-bound theology. Hence, a major disagreement and a major discussion and fight, if you will, between these women and black pastors on their way to freedom, because there was a comfort, a play it safe on the plantation that these women, in the tradition of Moses, in the tradition of Jesus of Nazareth, moved people and their spirits along with their bodies out of the condition to the idea of freedom, to the idea of the promised land. So in that context, who are the true Christians? Those who are passive or those who are actually engaged in the movement of the liberation of the people? I'd argue that women are at the foundation of liberation theology in their actions. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. There's still no acting mayor in South Suburban Harvey, Illinois, after the death of Black Mayor Christopher Clark.
The mayor of the city, Harvey, is a part-time position.
A special city council meeting failed to produce a winner, leaving alderperson Shirley Drewinski serving as mayor pro tem until another vote is scheduled. Journalist Don Lemon says his recent arrest was meant to embarrass him. The former CNN anchor told Jimmy Kimmel Live that federal agents detained him after he covered protesters who disrupted a church service in St. Paul. Lemon says his lawyer tried to argue a voluntary surrender but never heard back. And Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass used her State of the City address to spotlight major events like the World Cup and Olympics while calling for unity in the city. She also said rebuilding in Pacific Palisades has been fast-tracked after last year's wildfire, even as critics accuse her of being unprepared and slow to help residents recover. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers came home Monday night from a 3-game road trip and appeared to have some jet lag. They had a tough time with Philadelphia and ended up losing 128-113 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Kawhi Leonard was the only bright spot for the Clippers with 29 points. The Lakers are at Brooklyn tonight, final game of their 8-game road trip. The NFL has some explaining to do. There were 10 openings in this offseason for a head coach. None of the 10 jobs went to an African American. The last 2 teams looking for a head coach, Arizona and Las Vegas, hired a white candidate to fill the position. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said the league needs to re-examine the Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview at least 2 minority candidates. Somebody needs to tell Goodell that the coaching issue in the NFL goes way beyond the Rooney Rule. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized. The families who watched their inheritance disappear. The wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Tenacious Tuesdays, and our very special guest in this hour is none other than Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, PhD, political scientist, whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, American government, and public policy. Dr. Leon is a regular contributor on truthout.org, theroot.com, politicsincolor.com, blacknews.com, Black Agenda Report, Black Politics on the Web, and over 200 newspapers and other websites across the country. He can also be seen as a regular contributor and analyst on TV One's News on Now with Roland Martin, Press TV, and RTTV. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you're here, sir. Doc, if we can fast forward to what we're looking at in terms of what's taking place in the United States today, in particular in Minneapolis. I know you have some profound thoughts about what we're looking at in terms of the disintegration of the democratic system and the republic itself.
You know, one of the questions that I've been trying to answer is this whole issue in Minnesota really about immigration, or is immigration the excuse that's being presented as Donald Trump is testing the system to see how far he can push it as he wants to institute martial law? So I don't know, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a binary analysis. It doesn't necessarily have to be either or. Multiple things can be true at the same time. But he has stretched the border from California, Arizona, and Texas. He has stretched the border with ICE and border agents all the way up to Minnesota now. And he is arresting, shooting American citizens who are exercising their First Amendment rights of free speech and the right to protest, to petition the government to redress grievances. Again, Russell Vogt told us that we are in a post-constitutional America. So they being ICE, they are now even the director of Homeland Security has told his ICE agents, you don't need a judicial warrant to enter a home. You can enter it on an administrative warrant. That's a direct violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Absolutely, it is.
So, and again, when you look at who's being arrested, when you look at he's shooting white women in the face. He's not shooting Mexicans and Latinos and Somalis and Haitians. They in Minnesota shooting white people. So,
you know, Dr. Leon, in this moment, I'm thinking about a Southern tactic during Jim Crow and before the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 65. I'm thinking about the Southern governors and sheriffs and others who would encourage Black people to get on a bus, and he would send them to Massachusetts to meet the Kennedys. And he would tell them that if you go north, there are jobs north, there are opportunities north. And we're going to drop you off right in front of the Kennedys' house because the Kennedys are ready to meet y'all when y'all get up there. Of course, when they got off the bus in their Sunday's best, right in front of the Kennedys' house, the Kennedys were not there, nor were they expecting visitors. And then I think about the only way Venezuelans and immigrants come into the United States by way of crossing the southern border. Governor Texas, Governor Abbott of Texas, and DeSantis and others, sending immigrants in the cold to Chicago and to Minneapolis. And these cities declare the need, rather than watching people freeze to death, to be sanctuaries for human beings. And then, as you correctly stated, Donald Trump extended the border from the South, from California, all the way to those places that these governors sent these people who were yearning to breathe free into our cities, creating the kind of mayhem that is a result of these ICE agents not following the Constitution or abiding any constitutional construct with respect to engaging American citizens or people who have rights to be here in the United States. But because their skin is brown, because they speak a different language, they find themselves the victims of the brutality of the United States government. I'm wondering in this moment if the parallel between the reverse freedom rides for Black folks and, if you will, the reverse freedom rides for Venezuelans and Latinos, that is, you're here in the North now they're going to take you back and send you back to the country of origin, is the strongest possible signal from my perspective that America is no longer, Dr. Leon, a welcoming country.
I think you're absolutely right. There's a great book. I'm looking for it on my bookcase. I can't find it at the moment. Anyway, having to do with it's the history of United States regime change or coup d'etats. And Stephen Kinzer wrote the book. And again, I'm drawing a blank on it. But anyway, the point is, folks that want to engage in this conversation about immigration, they need to understand the history of United States involvement in foreign countries. And because if you don't understand that history, then I don't think you can intelligently have a conversation about this issue. There's an adage, with you being in and from Chicago, I think you know the saying, don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go back and look at the history of the United States involvement in Guatemala, go back and look at the history of the United States involvement in Nicaragua, and then ask yourself, why are these people leaving their homes, risking everything they have, including their lives, to come here? Well, and then ask yourself, why aren't we going to Guatemala? Why aren't we going to Nicaragua? Because we're good where we are. We're happy where we are. We're warm and fed where we are. So why aren't they? And then look at the history of their governments and the United States involvement in overthrowing their democratically elected presidents and prime ministers for the sake of United Fruit Company, for the sake of Domino Sugar, for the sake of other corporate interests, Shell Oil, British Petroleum in Iran. And then you'll start to understand why those people are coming. And once you understand that, then you'll be able to develop better solutions to solving these problems. But if you don't understand the crux of the problem, you damn sure can't figure out a solution.
I think Stephen Kinzer's book is Overthrow. Is it Overthrow?
It's Overthrow.
It's so great.
Read Overthrow. And then you'll have a much better understanding of the issue. And to the last point you were making before we went into the break, there's a reason why Reverend Cone wrote the book, God of the Oppressed.
Yes. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest is Dr. Wilmer J. Leon, a PhD, political scientist, and activist. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
February 4th is Transit Equity Day. To mark the occasion, Metro is offering free rides all day on the 4th. Providing safe, accessible, and affordable transportation is a commitment Metro makes year-round. Learn more at thesource.metro.net. USC Visions and Voices invites you to the LA premiere of Major, an exciting new dance theater performance exploring the legacy of Majorette dance. Directed by award-winning choreographer Ogemdi Ude, Major combines music and movement to explore what it means to be proudly Black and proudly femme. Join us on Wednesday, February 4th at USC's Bovard Auditorium. Reserve your free ticket now at visionsandvoices.usc.edu. That's visionsandvoices.usc.edu.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's cal-cruise-news.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's February 3rd, and there are key Black history events on February 3rd in the history of our people. In 1870, the ratification of the 15th Amendment occurred on February 3rd, granting voting rights to Black men. Autherine Lucy becoming the first Black student at the University of Alabama in 1956. Jack Johnson won his first title in 1903, a milestone highlighting major progress in civil rights, education, and sport. Eric Holder Jr. was sworn as the nation's first African-American Attorney General. Bill White named National League president in 1989. Former MLB player Bill White was named president of the National League, making him the first African-American to head a major U.S. sports league. And on February 3rd, the New York school boycott of 1964. Approximately 464 Black and Puerto Rican students boycotted New York public city schools to protest segregation. Every single day of the year, there is Black history. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you as always.
Dr. Leon, let me, I know that we're going to be coming forward, and towards the top of the hour, you'll be giving us your word of hope. Why don't we first start, before some initial final thoughts, on how we can support your work and how can we listen to your programming? Dr. Leon.
Well, thank you for that opportunity. I'm on Sirius XM channel 126 every Saturday from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern time. So greatly appreciate folks tuning in there. I had a podcast which we had to suspend due to financial issues. So I'm working on bringing it back. I got a lot of support from folks in Chicago, and so we're working on bringing it back. So hopefully, once we get all that ironed out, you'll allow me to come back and let people know how they can contribute to the effort and bring the program back. That show, you can still go to YouTube and find it was called Connecting the Dots with Dr. Wilmer Leon. It was on Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 Eastern. But again, you can find me on Sirius XM channel 126 Urban View Saturdays from 11 to 2 Eastern.
Doc, in light of that, and we do support your work, and we will have you back on to give more information about your program, Connecting the Dots, once it's ready to go. Don Lemon was arrested recently, Dr. Leon, and the attack on the First Amendment seems to be an attack on Black voices who are taking advantage of the First Amendment. Your thoughts, Dr. Leon?
Well, I think there's definitely a direct attack on Black voices as it relates to the First Amendment. But when you look at all of the protesters, for example, in Minnesota that are being harassed, that's an attack on the First Amendment as well. Mm-hmm. The freedom to petition your government for redress of grievances. So I think that there is we because there are fewer of our voices in these types of spaces, for example, your show, my show, Don Lemon having been formerly on CNN, there are fewer of our faces in those spaces. When we come under attack, it is much more obvious than the average American. But there is a direct attack on the First Amendment. And we need to understand that there are those that I've heard when it comes to Minnesota and looking at those issues, there are those in our community who are saying, well, look, that's their fight. That's not our fight. But we can't afford to take that position for a number of reasons. And because when they're done they are practicing on them, we will eventually be caught up in that dragnet. And when you look at the technology that's being used, the surveillance technology that's being used in Minnesota, that's being used in Chicago, that's being used in Los Angeles, the companies such as Palantir, which has a direct link to the Israeli Defense Forces. They are using the same technology that they've been employing against Palestinians. They're using that technology against us now. So there are so many tentacles that are tying the foreign to the domestic, the broader community to our community. We can't afford to sit back and say, this is not our fight.
Dr. Leon, your thoughts on Carter G. Woodson and Black history and the significance of this month.
I had a student ask me just last week what was one of my favorite books, and I said, The Miseducation of the Negro. And she said, why The Miseducation of the Negro? I said, because if you want to start to get an understanding of our plight, if you want to start to get an understanding of how the system has been used against us to create a particular narrative, a particular story, to convince us to go along and get along, and as your dad said, not play it safe. Miseducation of the Negro is incredibly well written, incredibly well researched, very, very easy to read. And I always recommend to people that say to me, where do I start? I tell them, start with that book. Du Bois is brilliant, but a challenge to read. You've got to sit down and dig in order to get through The Souls of Black Folk or The Ordeal of Manzard or Dusk of Dawn. But if you want to start in the right spot, I believe even oh shoot, his name just left me. So anyway, start with Du Bois. Start with this Miseducation of Negro and Carter G. Woodson. That will whet your appetite, and from there you'll be able to go on to other more challenging authors.
One of my favorite passages in The Miseducation of the Negro is he talks about our spending patterns and he talks about our behavior. And he said that we had become so accustomed to the system of oppression that even if offered the opportunity to walk in the front door.
There you go.
I'm going to let you finish that for me, Doc.
That if there is no front door, you will go to the back. You will create one. You will go to the back. And if there is no door in the back, you will create one for yourself.
It doesn't get much more creative than that.
And it doesn't get any simpler than that.
Every day I meet someone who has the right to go in the front door. They're used to going in the back door. And Carter G says, if there is no back door, because you've been conditioned to going in the back of the restaurant, you will cut a hole in the wall and climb through it. Dr. Wilmer Leon, thank you for being our very special guest in this hour.
Thank you, my brother.
You're always welcome. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are taking a survey of Black history with some of the best and brightest thinkers there are in the nation at this hour, and Dr. Wilmer J. Leon is certainly one of them. Very grateful for his regular contribution to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Carter G. Woodson was a pioneering American historian, educator, and author known as the father of Black history. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward on Tenacious Tuesday. Barbara Arnwine's up next, y'all.
Beautiful.
Come on, folks.
Beautiful.
Come on, folks.
Beautiful. Tell her I said hello.
I promise. I'll see you soon.
All right.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. There's still no acting mayor in South Suburban Harvey, Illinois, after the death of Black Mayor Christopher Clark.
The mayor of the city, Harvey, is a part-time position.
A special city council meeting failed to produce a winner, leaving alderperson Shirley Drewinski serving as mayor pro tem until another vote is scheduled. Journalist Don Lemon says his recent arrest was meant to embarrass him. The former CNN anchor told Jimmy Kimmel Live that federal agents detained him after he covered protesters who disrupted a church service in St. Paul. Lemon says his lawyer tried to argue a voluntary surrender but never heard back. And Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass used her State of the City address to spotlight major events like the World Cup and Olympics while calling for unity in the city. She also said rebuilding in Pacific Palisades has been fast-tracked after last year's wildfire, even as critics accuse her of being unprepared and slow to help residents recover. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers came home Monday night from a 3-game road trip and appeared to have some jet lag. They had a tough time with Philadelphia and ended up losing 128-113 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Kawhi Leonard was the only bright spot for the Clippers with 29 points. The Lakers are at Brooklyn tonight, final game of their 8-game road trip. The NFL has some explaining to do. There were 10 openings in this offseason for a head coach. None of the 10 jobs went to an African-American. The last 2 teams looking for a head coach, Arizona and Las Vegas, hired a white candidate to fill the position. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said the league needs to re-examine the Rooney Rule, which requires teams to interview at least 2 minority candidates. Somebody needs to tell Goodell that the coaching issue in the NFL goes way beyond the Rooney Rule. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley. The tools to hold a meaningful conversation should not be reserved just for a privileged few. It is a skill our world desperately needs in every community, at every table. So I'm pleased to announce the Founding Members Scholarship Program for my online course, The Art of Conversation, in 4 different categories. The Community Builder, for those who serve others, the Rising Voice for emerging communicators, the Bridge Builder for underrepresented perspectives, and the Determined Scholar for those facing financial hardship. If finances are the only barrier between you and this training, well, let's hurdle that barrier. We're accepting applications right now at TavisTalks.com. That's TavisTalks.com. The priority deadline is February the 10th. So visit TavisTalks.com right now and let's build this table together.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour will be Barbara Arnwine, and she'll be coming up momentarily. But I want to read an editorial that I wrote for the Hill newspaper that appeared in today's Hill. You can find it at thehill.com. And it's titled, Millions of Americans Rely on the Affordable Care Act. They deserve an upgrade. More than 20 million Americans are getting hit with raging premiums for continued coverage under the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Many of them will be priced out of affordable coverage. They've already had their last doctor appointments and picked up the remaining prescription covered under their insurance. The dismal failure of Congress to pass a vote on extending Obamacare subsidies is another round of DC pettiness, putting this coverage and those who depend on it in the political crosshairs. Republicans voted against the act when we passed it. They tried more than 70 times to repeal it. They've even sued to overturn it. They failed to defeat it, so they're starving it out of funding. While the fight over subsidies will continue to rage, Congress will be having more productive debate on how to upgrade the ACA, better serve the nearly 50 million Americans who rely on it. At 15 years old, the law is showing its age and the neglect that has come from it fighting for its own survival instead of evolving. The good news is, we know it works. Obamacare was the most consequential social policy of the past half century. With it, we cut the uninsured rate by half, protected those with pre-existing conditions, expanded Medicaid, and took tremendous strides toward lowering healthcare costs. In 2025, enrollment in ACA plans reached record highs. The temporary expansion of subsidies during the pandemic and through the Inflation Reduction Act made premiums affordable for millions of middle-class families who previously earned too much to qualify for help. Making those subsidies permanent should be the floor, not the ceiling. Premiums are only part of the healthcare affordability crisis. Many encounter barriers to care after they're insured. High deductibles and unpredictable out-of-pocket costs still cause Americans to delay care, skip prescriptions, and avoid specialists. Upgrade the ACA to cap deductibles and total out-of-pocket costs as a percentage of income. Health insurance does not work if people are deterred from using it. Next,